Beutiful is an ugly orphan who lives in a shed with a loser goddess. He aims to become strong and hopes to date his lifelong crush. And that's when plot armor kicks in as Bel is granted a god-level skill that makes him the strongest adventurer. A long time ago, in the sacred land of Arario, the gods decided to seal their divinity and descend to the lower realms to live with their children. There weren't any real motives behind their move. They were just bored to death. After their descent, they started blessing a few chosen humans, which later came to be known as a familia. One day, a young adventurer named Beutiful of the Hestia familia finds himself trapped in the 5th floor of a dungeon. He was pissing himself at death's door, until a young maiden named Eyes Wallenstein swoops in and saves his worthless little ugly life. In that instance, Bel experiences the magic of love at first sight. Drenched in blood, Bel runs to the Adventurers Guild, hoping to know something about Eyes. However, the local citizens think that another rookie got his balls eaten by a monster at the guild, and the receptionist sits him down and rips off the bandage, saying that hell would freeze over 1,000,000 times before he marries a level 5 adventurer like Eyes Wallenstein. She is the second best sword wielder in the city, which earned her the name Sword Princess of Araria. Yet, Bel stays hopeful, as his grandfather once said to him, "You must save a young maiden in a dungeon, then bang her hard." With a new respectable goal in sight, Bel goes back to his little shed, where Hestia, the full-time waiter and part-time goddess, celebrates his return. Afterwards, she checks his stats and finds a new mysterious skill in Bel's arsenal. The skill is called Lyris Freeze, a unique ability that grants him superhuman growth as long as he feels extreme emotion. Hestia gets jealous, realizing that Bel has the hots for Eyes. Ultimately, she decides to hide the truth of the skill from Bel. The next morning, Bel wakes up from a squishy feeling, yet he manages to make a swift, unnoticed escape. On his way to the dungeon, Sir Flava, a tavern worker, stops him. She returns a magic stone that Bel dropped last night. She then invites him to have dinner at the tavern at night. After a long day at the dungeon, Bel returns to the shed. There, Bel reviews his status sheet and is amazed by the progress speed. However, Hestia gets all pouty and storms out of the shed. She wonders why Bel has the hots for Eyes when he can rile her up every night. Meanwhile, Bel suits up with unlimited cute boy Riz and goes to a tavern, where the owner Mamma Mia presents him with food that is over his budget. Suddenly, as Bel eats something other than bread, the goddess Loki and her familia enters the tavern. Everyone in the tavern starts talking about Eyes the Sword Princess. Bel goes into beta simp mode. As time passes by, Beutiful, the certified jerk of the Loki familia, gets drunk. He starts rambling about how Eyes saved a tomato head on the 5th floor. As the others try to calm him down, Beutiful says that Eyes has the same opinion on the ugly brat. All of a sudden, with tears in his eyes, Bel storms out of the tavern. Determined to become worthy of Eyes' love, he makes his way into the labyrinth. There, he spends the entire night fighting Monster, thinking that he will obliterate any obstacle in his way. In the morning, back at the shed, Hestia thinks that Bel has abandoned her. But suddenly Bel walks up to Shed covered in blood. In her arms, he wishes to become the strongest of them all. Instantly, Hestia gets wet from Bel's bravery and takes him inside. She reviews his status sheet and is amazed by the tremendous growth rate of his unknown skill. Ultimately, she is conflicted inside, wondering if the truth should be revealed. But eventually, she decides to reveal his stats orally, giving Bel the necessary push. Still, she is worried that Bel would leave her mommy talents and join the other capable gods. Being the king of unintentional Riz, Bel clarifies his stance, saying that he won't leave those heavenly assets. With that concern settled, Hestia suits up in her hooker outfit and tells Bel that she will be gone for 3 days. Afterwards, Bel returns to the tavern and clears his dues from last night. Surprisingly, the not-so-friendly-looking hag lets him off the hook, since Sir begged for his puny little life. On the other hand, at a grand palace, all the gods gather for a party. As the party progresses, Hestia asks Loki if Eyes has been slayed by someone. Instantly, Loki loses her shit as she claims that Eyes belongs to her. All of a sudden, the gods get together gets heated up when Hestia asks Loki if she has thrown away her talents alongside her divinity. Soon after, all the male gods rally up and start betting on their favorite women. Some say that the short chick is going to make a home run, while the others hope to comfort Loki, if you know what I mean. Eventually, their fight is broken by Freya, the goddess of beauty. As everything calms down, the great goddess of divine arts Hephaestus walks up to Hestia. Out of the blue, Hestia falls down begging her for a favor. A while later, inside her Hephaestus workshop, Hestia continues begging. She asks her to create a custom blade for Bel. Intrigued, Hephaestus asks why Hestia wants the weapon so badly, since she thought that Hestia is the same old freeloader who likes to cling to others like a parasite. However, Hestia's evolved personality amazes Hephaestus, as she feels like a useless goddess who cannot help her familia achieve their goals. Ultimately, Hephaestus agrees to do a custom job on the condition that Hestia will pay her back. Meanwhile, in the bazaar, One of the tavern workers, Ryu, requests Belle to return Sir's wallet. Excited to watch the beast-killing festival, she forgot her wallet at the tavern. On the other hand, in a nearby tavern, Freya joins Loki for a drink, revealing that she found a young boy with transparent aura. Suddenly, she senses the boy's presence as he travels to the arena. Back in the bazaar, Hestia sneaks up on Belle and forces him to see the festival. As they laugh and eat ice cream, the same mysterious woman enters the arena and unleashes a beast. Ultimately, the beast attacks Hestia and Belle. Fearful, he grabs Hestia's hand, swiftly making an escape. However, as the monster persists, Belle locks Hestia in an alley and tells her to run. In the face of inevitable death, Belle remembers the last moments of his pervy sage grandfather. One day, in a small village, a couple of local citizens revealed the sad news, saying that Belle's grandfather was killed by monsters. After that fateful event, he came to Arario to search for a familia. However, with each door, he met with disappointment. Finally, in an alley, Belle was ready to give in to starvation, until a goddess walked up to him and extended a hand that felt like a photon of light in the void. In the present, members of the Gaintia familia inform Lord Gaintia, who either loves masquerade balls or is just ugly, and he orders them to seek help from other familias. Immediately, at the guild, Misha Flott whispers into Anna's ears that Gaintia just pissed his pants and is seeking help from others. In that instance, Anna thinks that all adventurers linked to them are worthless freeloaders, but suddenly, she finds eyes in the crowd. Meanwhile, somewhere in town, Belle loses all of confidence in himself like he does in bed. As he prepares to die, Hestia scratches his efforts to buy time and returns to the battlefield. Frustrated, Belle curses Hestia's clinginess. Eventually, he gathers the last shred of his power to carry Hestia out of the shithole. After leading the monster away, Belle hides in a secret alley, where Hestia rechecks his status and links the new godly knife with him. She recalls Hephaestus, saying that the knife she made is alive. It will grow alongside Belle's strength. Confident in his new weapon, Belle reveals himself and launches a frontal assault on the monkey. With a few parries, he releases the vastness of his own strength. In that moment, Belle locks eyes on his chest, striking the deadly blow. As Belle asks Hestia if he killed the monster, all the locals in the area start cheering him on. Even the Great Sword Princess Eyes watches his achievement and glory. During the chaos, Hestia clings to Belle in her usual manner. However, due to extreme exhaustion, she falls unconscious. On the rooftop, the mysterious woman is revealed to be Freya. She regrets putting Hestia in harm's way, yet she is eagerly waiting to play with Belle once again. In the aftermath of the battle, Anna concludes that no life was lost. Still, she wonders about the person behind the incident. Later at night, Belle takes Hestia to Mamma Mia's tavern. There, she regains her consciousness. As they converse, Belle notices the initials of Hephaestus on his new weapon. He worryingly asks Hestia about the payment of it. However, she assures him that everything is taken care of. Ultimately, she only wants Belle to believe in his goddess and give her some head from time to time. The following morning, Belle returns to the guild, asking for Anna to give him clearance for floor 7. Obviously, she lashes out at his no-using brain policy and asks him to shut his trap. However, Belle, the chick magnet, assures her that his stats are above E to prove his claims. He even lifts up his shirt. Yet, Anna refuses to grant him clearance to the 7th floor. She then asks him to meet her at the bazaar. The coming day, Belle suits up for his date, ready to get laid. After a while, Anna arrives on the scene in a cute skirt. This is where Belle's cute riz comes into play. He literally starts blushing like a bride, taking advantage of the situation. Anna puts him on the spot, asking him to compliment her dress. With any shred of hesitation, Belle says that she looks a lot younger. Emotional damage indeed. Inside the Hephaestus shopping mall, Belle encounters Hestia working in a weapons shop. Instantly, she goes on the defensive, asking Anna if she is rizzing up Belle. Naturally, Anna clarifies that she isn't a creep like her. After that unique encounter, Anna takes Belle to the top floor, where all the rookie blacksmiths beg for 5-star reviews. Without wasting a moment, Belle goes crazy. He scrolls to the bottom to find the cheapest of stuff. However, his heart settles on a very expensive light armor chest plate, blowing his entire budget for a month. In the evening, as their unofficial date comes to an end, Anna gives him a gift and advises him to hire a supporter. With that, Belle makes his way back to the shed. That's when he encounters a worthless thug, bullying a little girl. Angered, Belle and Ryu both scare off the bully. Before leaving, she advises him to be careful in the secluded areas of the town. On the following dawn, Belle runs into Lilaruka Ard, the little girl from yesterday. Coincidentally, she is a supporter looking for work. Being a naive dumb dimwit, Belle employs her without any background check. Inside the dungeon, Belle slays monster after monster, while keeping Lily at a safe distance. He then sheaths the Hephaestus knife to collect the last magic stone from the monster corpse. After returning to the guild, Belle informs Anna about his new supporter Lily. Initially, she feels discomfort, knowing that Lily belongs to the Soma Familia. According to Anna, their members always act like they are always on stuff. Still, in the end, she decides to trust Belle's judgment. Suddenly, she notices that Belle's only valuables are missing. Panicked, he runs outside the guild, thinking that he dropped the knife. Meanwhile, at a pawn shop, a dwarf tells Lily that he will pay 30 volleys, since the blade is really dull and weak. Frustrated, Lily leaves the shop, wondering how Belle killed various monsters with a dull blade. All of a sudden, while walking, Ryu and Sir pass by. They instantly notice Belle's marked jet black blade, demanding Lily to return it. Upon her refusal, they start chasing the naughty little girl. Unfortunately, Lily bumps into Belle, causing her escape to fail. Eventually, Ryu returns Belle's knife. However, he still thinks that it was an accident. The following morning, Belle officially hires Lily as a supporter to assist in the dungeon. After their first official day, they manage to earn 26,000 volleys, an amount that even a party of 5 level 1 adventurers cannot earn. Yet, without any ulterior motives, he gives Lily half of the earnings and calls it a day. Meanwhile, at a local not-so-godly tavern, Hestia gets drunk on jealousy, creating an unnecessary scene. The next morning, Hestia experiences a hangover. However, all of her rambling disappears when Belle asks her on a fancy date. Excited, she rises from bed like a frog and reviews her wardrobe, which is only filled with hooker clothing. Eventually, Hestia decides to take a bath at the temple. There, she reunites with some huge competition. All the goddesses are eager to know why Hestia decided to bathe. Being the goddess of lust, Hestia brags about going on a date with a human boy. In the evening, Hestia meets with Belle in a quite revealing outfit. Out of the blue, all the goddess from the temple bath arrive on the scene. The women handle Belle like he's their toy. However, naturally, Hestia finds it annoying, and so she takes Belle and makes a run for it. As the night sets in, Hestia complains about their date being ruined. Yet, Belle says that being together is the main objective. Still, next time, eating would be much better. On the other hand, in the Soma territory, a bunch of uglies mock Lily and take away her money. Frustrated, she curses all the adventures and labels Belle as a borderline dense main character. The following day, Belle and Lily walk through a normal dungeon routine and safely return back to the surface. He then goes to the tavern, where Sir lends him a book to read in his free time. Since he's practically a freelancer, Belle returns to the shed, excited to read the book. As he goes through the first few pages, Belle realizes that the book is about philosophy. However, a few moments later, he mysteriously passes out cold. A while later, as Hestia returns from her duties, she notices that Belle is lying on the couch. She checks his status sheet and discovers that Belle has learned a quick attack magic spell known as Firebolt. She says that Belle can test the workings of the spell tomorrow. However, who would wait to try out magic? And so, Belle heads into the dungeon, fire-bolting every monster. Naturally, his magic power depleted and he fell to the ground. Thankfully, Eyes and another member of the Loki Familia were nearby. Eyes places Belle's head in her laps, patting him like a dog. But upon regaining consciousness, he gets a climax and loses his shit. Eventually, he starts rolling down in the deep to reach the shed. On the very next day, Hestia reveals that Belle read a grimoire, allowing him to learn magic. Still, this grimoire can be worth more than the knife. So, if the original owner returns, he will be a lifelong slave. Later that day, one of the members of the Soma Familia talks with Belle. He can help Belle take revenge on the little thief. However, Belle vouches for her innocence. As they approach the dungeon, Lily recollects a flashback of her childhood memories. As expected, her parents were also members of the Soma Familia, and just like the others, they were worthless creeps. One day, they stepped inside of the dungeon to collect cash. However, being level 0 newbies, they instantly got killed, leaving Lily behind. Since that fateful day, Lily has been living a hellish life. Eventually, she found a place where she belonged, but even that was taken away from her by the nameless shitbags of the Soma Familia. Now, she hates every adventurer. Back in the present, at the Loki Familia's estate, Loki tells Anna that the Soma Familia is a bunch of losers. They lure in new adventurers by giving them a sample of their wine. Afterwards, they rack up huge amounts of cash from them in exchange for a sip of their perfect wine. Meanwhile, at the shed, Belle tells Hestia about the shady-looking pampas on Lily's back. For once in eternity, Hestia uses her brain, saying that Belle should be very different from Lily. The following morning, Lily mocks Belle, saying that monsters on level 10 will be a piece of cake for him. Immature and easy to sugarcoat, he accepts her suggestion, making his way to the 10th level. Whereas, at Babel, concerned for his well-being, Anna decides to tell Hestia the truth about Lily. Coincidentally, she runs into Eyes at the entrance. Before entering Babel, she asks Eyes to rescue Belle from the 10th floor. Being as dense as Belle, she thinks that her power scared him off. However, Anna assures her that Belle has been positively appreciative towards Eyes. Back in the dungeon, Lily traps Belle in a horde of monsters to steal his belongings. With the help of a bow, she runs out of the 10th floor, only to find fellow shitbags. The worthless prick takes all of her possessions. He acts like the big dog until a group of 3 adventurers arrive at the scene with rat monsters. They steal all of Belle's belongings and a locker key from Lily. Afterwards, they use her as rat dinner to swiftly escape. Just as Lily accepts her fate, thinking that it is karma, Belle swooshes in with a fire bolt. Frustrated with herself, Lily weeps like a tsundere, revealing that she is a thief who stole from Belle. However, he puts everything aside, saying that his grandfather wanted him to save a girl in a dungeon then bang her. Eventually, Belle and Lily manage to escape the dungeon safely. As a testimony of brain deadness, he decides to hire Lily as an official supporter. On their way back to the shed, Lily casts her transformation magic, revealing that her skills are perfect for a thief. She wants to lay low for the time being, so that adventurers from the Soma Familia can assume that she died in the dungeon. As they reach the shed, Belle introduces Lily to his goddess. Right after, Hestia confronts Lily, saying that she will be punished for her actions. Disappointed and worried, her cute animal ears drop, thinking that she will have to do some fan service. Moments later, as Belle enters the room with 2 cups of tea, both girls with their assets cling to him. They are determined to have Belle all for themselves. Ultimately, he decides to flee the scene instead of becoming a pancake in between all the heat. With that awkwardness settled, Belle decides to stop by the guild. Unexpectedly, he finds Eyes waiting to talk to him. However, after being suddenly put on the spot, Belle starts crumbling. But eventually, Anna tells him to man up and stand his ground. Unlike he expected, Eyes is a very gentle girl. She apologizes for letting a minotaur lose on the 5th floor. As they talk, Eyes realizes that Belle lacks proper combat and strategy training. Consequently, she decides to take it upon herself to train him. On their first day, Eyes tells him to be in tune with the surrounding area. She thinks that Belle lacks a sense of skill and strategy. Eventually, she beats him to a pulp and proves her claims to be true. From that day onward, at dawn, Belle receives a breakfast beatdown from his crush. And then one day, Eyes says that they will practice sleeping. According to her, an adventurer must fall asleep regardless of their environment. Just like a pro, Eyes goes out cold the moment she lays down. Belle tries to follow her example. However, his grandfather's voice fills his head. He advises Belle to take the opportunity to land a smooch. He says that the girl is practically begging for it. Being an obedient grandson, Belle sits closer to Eyes and leaps in for the bullseye. However, she warns him to abstain from any stupid behavior or else his balls will witness the wrath of the Sword Princess. After that overly awkward session, they both hit town to grab a bite. Unfortunately, Eyes takes Belle to Hestia's potato stall. There, just like a nosy brat, she starts yelling and crying. Eventually, after a few hours of explaining, Hestia understands that Belle is just training with Eyes for swordsmanship practice. The following morning, during the training session, Belle recalls the moment Anna told him about Eyes' greatest achievement. She defeated a floor boss completely on her own. Back in the present, Belle initiates the attack on Eyes but fails to land a hit each time. Later that day, Sir suddenly sneaks up on Belle and clings onto him. With those puppy eyes, Sir says that she wants Belle inside her. Turns out, she lured him to wash all the dishes. Shocked, Belle reveals that he only washes 2 plates and cups at the shed, talking about being broke. Eventually, Sir reveals that the dishes piled up when she was goofing around. In the end, Belle agrees to wash the dishes. However, Ryu intervenes in the situation, offering her help. As they cutely wash the dishes, Belle asks if Ryu was an adventurer. Unexpectedly, she confirms that his shot in the dark was quite accurate. She advises Belle to gather a party of adventurers and conquer the lower floors of the dungeon. This is the only way Belle will ever hope to increase his level. The following morning, Belle resumes his sessions with Eyes, hoping to land a hit. However, just as before, he fails to land a single hit. Still determined, he keeps on rising from his knees. Eventually, Belle manages to counterattack Eyes at a blind spot. Despite this, she effortlessly dodges the attack and lands a finishing blow. Yet, she compliments Belle for launching a counterattack, thus ending his training. In the afternoon, all members of the Loki Familia and blacksmiths of the Hephaestus Familia gather in front of the dungeon. Their mission is to become the first party to reach the 59th floor. Meanwhile, Belle and Lily make their way into the 9th floor. Out of nowhere, a giant minotaur with a longsword attacks them. Lily tells him to retreat. However, Belle, the wannabe hero, refuses to listen. He throws Lily out of the way and casts a bunch of fireballs. On the other hand, Eyes and her platoon simultaneously enter the 9th floor. Coincidentally, they find a wounded adventurer at the entrance. On death's door, the man reveals that he saw a minotaur wielding a longsword. He also reveals that white-haired Pipsqueak is fighting with it. Back on the battlefield, Belle distracts the minotaur, ordering Lily to run away. In that instance, Bell decides to fight with the Minotaur until Lily safely escapes the floor. He realizes that both of their agility is at the same level, and so Bell decides to fend off its attack. Still, the Minotaur with its superior strength lands an attack, throwing him off balance. Just as he loses all hopes of survival, Eyes appears in front of him, ready to kill the Minotaur. That's when the memories of their first encounter starts to haunt him. He firmly stands up, saying that Eyes won't save him any longer. Determined, he takes on the Minotaur by himself. On the sidelines, Beutiful fuzzily recognizes Tomato Head, saying that the Minotaurs love to whack his meat. Despite his comments, Lily clings to his foot and begs him to save Bell. Eventually, he decides to step forward. However, as they see the battle progressing, they wonder if Bell really is a level 1 adventurer. One of the members links Bell to a local legend named Argonaut. They say that Bell resembles the legendary myth of a boy who wanted to be a hero. All of a sudden, Bell gains the advantage in the battle. He knocks the Minotaur off balance, slashing him apart. Ultimately, both the Minotaur and Bell charge at each other. Beutiful and the others label it as a dumb move. However, Eyes says that he will be alright. Just as she said, Bell creates an opening and torches the Minotaur from the inside out. After a few spells, he manages to defeat the monster, but in exchange, he loses consciousness. In that moment, Riviera, the healer of the group, walks up to Bell, discovering that his abilities are S-ranked. The next morning, as Bell regains his consciousness, Hestia turns him over and checks his status. Amazingly enough, Bell managed to hit level 2 in just 1.5 months. This achievement is same as the Guinness World Records, as it took the Sword Princess 2 years to reach level 2. He also got his second skill named after the legendary boy Argonaut. However, the use of this skill remains a mystery. Still, Hestia guesses that it may be a power booster, allowing him to go wild all night. With Bell all up and running, Hestia prepares to leave for the gods' quarterly meetings, where they will pick second names for the people who leveled up. At the temple, Hestia joins Take Mikazuchi. Both of them hope that the Council of Gods will choose a good name for their children. Later at night, as Bell sweeps the floor while imagining his name to be Blazing Fire of Death, Hestia storms in. She gives a half thumbs up, saying his name could have been worse. Afterwards, at the tavern, he tells Lily that his new name is Little Rookie. She instantly rejects it. On the subsequent day, Bell heads to the thrift store of accessories to find Wolf Krazu's armor. But instead of finding the armor, he finds Wolf himself. Being a salesman, he marks his territory, telling everyone that Bell uses his armor. He then offers to enter an exclusive contract with Bell, providing custom service 24/7. In exchange, all he wants is to form a party with him. On their first adventure, Lily, the girl who was a thief and now intends to sniff out thieves, keeps a close eye on Wolf. However, things get worse when she finds out that he is a Krazu. Back in the day, the Krazus were the lineage of noble blacksmiths who made magic swords, but then they decided to use their hands for other scientific purposes. Amidst their conversation, a group of orcs in whatever in the seven hells that is, shows up. Realizing the inevitable danger, Bell tells everyone to get prepared for battle. Surprisingly, he realizes that his speed and magic power has drastically increased. After effortlessly defeating the monsters, Lily starts to gather the magic stones. Unexpectedly, a dragon enters the battlefield, dashing towards Lily. In that instance, Bell casts a blue fire bolt, defeating the monster with one strike. Back in the shed, Hestia explains that his new skill allows him to fight against the odds. Whenever he feels stuck, an Argonaut can help unleash a powerful attack. Becoming morning, Wolf decides to build a new piece of equipment for him. At his workshop, he notices a Minotaur's horn inside of Bell's backpack. He then takes the horn and lights up the fireplace. During the process, Wolf reveals that magic swords are his specialty. However, he refuses to build them, since they can break after a few swings, tarnishing both the welder's and blacksmith's reputation. But most of all, magic swords attract power-hungry freak shows. Ultimately, Wolf completes the knife, saying that they are now friends. On a new bright day, Bell prepares to explore the middle floors of the dungeon. Hestia thinks that the salamander wool has too much riz for Bell's cute little body to handle. However, Bell says that Anna handpicked the wool along with other things. As time passes, Hestia becomes increasingly worried and heads to the dungeon entrance. Meanwhile, Take Mikazuchi's Familia, including their newest level 2 members, Makoto Yamato, is gearing up to explore the middle floors. After they depart, Take Mikazuchi advises Hestia to calm down, since they should have faith in their children. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Bell and his party effortlessly win their first battle with the Hellhounds. Confident, they move deeper and meet couples of Bell's friends. Shortly after, a group of rabbits surrounds the trio, launching an attack. Meanwhile, a member of Take Mikazuchi's Familia gets injured. Their captain initiates an instant retreat. However, a group of Hellhounds still continue to follow them. As they run towards the exit, they parade Bell's group, forcing them to deal with their shit. At this point, Belle and the others are surrounded by white cute rabbits and a bunch of hellhounds. Even after defeating like 100 of them, they continue to attack in waves. Eventually, both Welf and Lily go down for the count, leaving everything in Belle's hand. Things get even worse as a group of hellhounds unleash a deadly attack from high ground. Unfortunately, that attack shatters the ground beneath them, sending them 2 floors down. Lily gives them a reality check, saying that they are dead meat. However, she tells them to use the pits in the dungeon to descend to the safe zone on the 18th floor. Outside, Take Mikazuchi and his familia explain the events of the dungeon. Angered, Hestia says that she will blame them if anything happens to Belle. Yet, for now, she needs their help. Together, they march on to the Hephaestus familia. But she reveals that her best men are in the lower floors with the Loki familia. Take Mikazuchi decides to send in 3 of his best members, but even they are not enough. Just as hope seemed lost, Hermes entered the room. He says that Isfi, his top dog, will assist them. Eventually, he also decides to recruit Ryu into the rescue party. Back in the dungeon, Lily utilizes a stink bag to scare off all the monsters. They hope to reach the 18th floor before it runs out. Yet, things are never that easy with the main character, as the stink bag loses its effect. Suddenly, a group of 3 minotaurs attacks them. In that instance, Belle takes the spotlight. He uses Argonaut to kill all of them at the same time. Meanwhile, despite being forbidden to enter a dungeon, both Hestia and Hermes follow behind Ryu, Isfi, and the others. As they get to the middle floors, Ryu and Isfi showcase their true skill, effortlessly defeating the monsters. Soon, their party comes across the site, where the floor crumbled. After a brief search, Hestia comes across Belle's equipment. She instantly thinks that the only man who ever gave her head is dead. Yet, both Ryu and Isfi think otherwise. They think that Belle used the ventilation shafts on the middle floors to descend to the 18th floor. With that said, Hestia calms down, saying that she feels that Belle is alive. Although, the other wondered why Hestia was creating a scene if could feel him inside her. On the 7th floor, both Lily and Welf lose their consciousness, forcing Belle to carry the whole team. Little by little, he pushes them towards the ventilation shaft, making his way to floor 18. There, Goliath, the ugliest floor boss in anime history, comes out of the wall. Still, Belle barely manages to pull through and jump in the ventilation shaft to the 18th floor. Instantly, before losing consciousness, Belle notices a person standing beside him and asks for his help. Hours later, Belle wakes up in the care of Eyes, and naturally, he freaks out and has a nervous breakdown. Afterwards, he personally reports to the leader of the party, revealing every detail. A pipsqueak Finn says that Eyes would stop feeding him if he didn't save Belle. In the aftermath of the situation, Belle explains everything to Lily and Welf. Disappointed, they call themselves dead weight. However, Belle says that he couldn't have done it without, and that concludes line 101. At night, as everyone welcomes the new adventurers, a distant scream alerts everyone. Turns out, Hestia and the rest of the gang are here to join Belle. Just as always, Belle appreciates everyone's efforts in saving him, but Hermes diverts the compliments towards Mikoto and her familia. Inside the camp, she begs them to forgive their actions. Still, Welf and Lily are too pissed off to accept anything. Eventually, Belle says that he would have done the same thing and calms the situation, thus ending part 2 of line 101. Ultimately, they decide to rest for one day and leave the next morning. The coming morning, after pulling an all-nighter with Belle, Hestia breaths like an old hag. Still, he forces her to climb the mountain and visit the city alongside everyone else. Upon entering, Lily and Welf discover that the place is basically an airport, a complete rip-off. Yet, despite that fact, Hestia buys a perfume at a complete bargain. She wants to smell good for Belle's sake. As she continues frowning, Tyone suggests that all the girls should take a bath. Out of the blue, Hermes sneaks up on Belle, asking for a private chat. A while later, he takes Belle into the forest and tells him to climb the tree. Turns out, Hermes is a true man of culture. He tells Belle that sneaking up to women while bathing is a man's responsibility. This was the same advice Belle's grandfather gave to him. Unfortunately, Belle's luck with women isn't as good as with minotaurs. He slips from the tree and lands in the true paradise. Flustered after seeing a glimpse of heaven, Belle shies away without tasting the forbidden fruit. Afterwards, Bete yells at him for being the one who saw Eyes and the others in a bath. Instead of being angry, he is envious of Belle's godly riz. Eventually, Loki Familia decides to travel to the surface and clear the way for the others. Belle then enters his camp to discuss something with Hestia. However, he finds a strange letter from the shitbags of society, saying that they captured Hestia. Instantly, as per demand, Belle's head to the designated site all alone. There, a douchebag, whose name isn't worth mentioning, challenges Belle to a duel. He activates an invisibility item to unfairly beat the shit out of Belle. Surprisingly, the magical item was given to her by Hermes. He wants Belle to experience the cruelness of the real world. However, all of a sudden, Belle's cavalry unit appears on the scene. Yet, despite the backup, they fail to break through to Belle. Meanwhile in the forest, Lily transforms into a monster to locate and liberate Hestia from the tree. Back at the battlefield, Bell learns to sense his opponent with the help of plot armor. But soon, all the fighting comes to a stop as Hestia decides to unleash her heavenly wrath. With that settled, Lily says that all's well that ends well. However, an earthquake erupts, shaking the entire floor. Without any prior warning, the 17th floor boss Goliath crushes through the walls, entering the safe zone. Not only that, other monsters like hellhounds and Minotaur are fighting with it. As the situation gets dire, Bell orders everyone to take action. One by one he assigned roles to everyone. Being the most powerful adventurers on the floor, Ryu and Isfi take the front lines. They decide to act as decoy until all the mages can simultaneously cast a very deadly spell. A few moments later, the mages cast powerful fire magic on the beast, thinking that it has been defeated. However, as everyone moves in to finish it off, both Bell and Ryu notice the abnormality. For some strange reason, the monster starts regeneration, a feat Goliath has never accomplished before. Eventually, Ryu, Isfi and Bell stand back to back, thinking of an immediate strategy. Being more experienced, Ryu and Isfi engage in a fight with Goliath while Bell defeats all the smaller monsters. Despite their combined effort, Goliath's regenerative powers prove to be an overpowering obstacle. As their chances dim down, Bell's Argonaut skill starts to activate. He casts a firebolt to parry Goliath's breach attack. However, even after being injured, it fires another shot. Thankfully, Auka from Take Mikazuchi's Familia jumps in the line of action to lessen the impact. But still, they both get severely injured and lose their consciousness. Everyone around Bell is left shattered. They shout and yell, hoping that he will regain consciousness. Meanwhile, inside his mind, he recalls his grandfather's words and the burning desire to surpass eyes. This gives him the push to stand up once again. In that very moment, Bell's Argonaut takes a new form. While everyone battles with the monsters to their limit, he charges Argonaut to its full power. A few moments later, as Goliath defeats everyone at the battlefield, Bell, covered with bright shining light, runs towards the beast. With a single swing of a sword, he burned Goliath's upper body, exposing his magic stone. Everyone at the battlefield falls into despair, thinking that Goliath will regenerate. However, using his superior agility, Bell leaps towards the stone and slashes it apart, thus ending its wrath. As everyone cheers him on, Hermes mentions that Bell is Zeus's grandson. He is the last hero from his Familia that can change the world. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.